started. All right, get through this agenda. We'll call to order. And attending members, roll call, please. Scott,
Here.
Kathy,
David.
Bob,
Here.
and you're going to need to join us.
I'm in, I'm listening.
And I think we end up having two alternates, and our most senior alternate, because we have a quorum, can be seated as a voter. That's Jim Waskow. He's on Zoom. Hi, Jim. And Jerry. Oh,
Here.
sorry. I almost got you.
Scratched.
I almost got you.
Sorry, my Uber driver has another meeting.
Oh, man. They're so unreliable.
No, this one's pretty good.
Has he been good? Yeah. I bet you had to give him a big tip, though.
No, I just had to make it different, that's all.
And Sarah Kimball. Okay, so, let's see, are we still good? That's one. We're good. We got 7 voting members. Minutes. Meetings, we have 2 minutes to review. One is for a real meeting and one was for a meeting that kind of was pretty lame. It was a non-meeting minutes. They're available if you don't have copies electronically. There's some on the desk here. And they were done wonderfully by our secretary. And I have to say that his minutes for our shortened meeting on the 11th were absolutely perfect.
Bonus.
Always helps when we don't have to talk a lot.
Maybe we should do the second.
So let's keep that in mind for tonight.
Keep that in mind, yes.
Oh, goodness.
Move that we accept the minutes from the non-meeting, or are we doing the other one first?
Well, I think we have to accept both of them separately, so we should do one and then the next, please. So I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 21st meeting. Motion?
Sure.
Second.
Motion and second. Scott, Sarah. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Oh, good. April 11th. I don't know if you folks who weren't here, whether or not.
Motion.
But we need a motion.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept. Need a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Guys, for you guys who are on the Zoom, you are our public for this evening. Because Hank just doesn't really want us to do anything but stand behind the camera. So anything that's not before the agenda this evening, you're welcome to do a public comment at this time.
Thank you, well said.
All set? We're good?
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks.
we'll move on. Look at that. We've caught right up to our time. Excellent. First thing on the agenda, Mr. Campbell.
2 things regarding the land subdivision regulations that needed to be updated. We agreed at a couple meetings, a couple months ago, that we were going to require we were going to request an electronic version of the Mylar for the office to be able to post on our website. That has been updated in the new regulations. And the second thing, when Julie and I were looking at the subdivision regulations, we noticed that there's a discrepancy between the application and the fee schedule that is handed out. They are not in sync with the fees. And I just want to know that we'll update the application. We'll update both of those documents to be consistent with the fees that are required that we approve. That makes sense? So
Which one was which one was?
two of them were out of sync. One was out of sync on the application, which basically said the notice, the recording fees at Carroll County Registry of Deeds on the fee schedule that's handed out, it said $30, and in the application it had $40. Okay, so we will be changing the fee schedule that's handed out to reflect the $40. And in the application, it had the notice, posting and publication notice of $24, and the fee schedule that goes out said $50. So we're gonna put those all in sync, and we'll have that for next meeting. And then hopefully everybody shows up, because then I have to have everybody's signature, because this is one of those where we have to, everybody has to sign the land notifications before it can be published. So I'll get these changed, get these printed, and then we can sign it, the first page, and then we can have Julie print them up.
What do we need to get everybody here? Do we need to do donuts or?
I'm gonna try, I'm gonna bribe people. If not, I know where every one of you live. Because I want to get this done, and it's driving Julie nuts. And we want to take care of that too. So I just want to update you on that, apparently, because we had talked about it once before, there was no public hearing, there's no necessary.
Right, those are just,
housekeeping.
yeah, housekeeping.
I wanted in the minutes that we talked about.
Do we have a 2024 zoning?
I really thought she would have it, it was approved,
Okay.
we reviewed it last month. I really thought she'd have the copies, I'm gonna follow up with her, because
Okay.
that's all been signed off on, and she printed it up and we changed everything.
Is it on the website?
It is on the website,
Okay.
but I thought she'd have hard copies for us.
And the only change in that really is the short-term rental, the duplication for
Accessory dwellings.
the ADUs.
We use the exact language from our,
Absolutely.
but what I forgot was you have to put all these clarification dates and all these places within the regulation, and I didn't do that, so Julie had to do that. She had to revise dates.
That codifies when it was done.
Yeah, but she put it in like 5 different places. I put it in, 3 different places, and I put it in one, so.
Gee. Talk about getting to know the ropes, right?
Yes.
All right. All right, I guess the next thing on the agenda is a voluntary lot merger.
Well, I don't know if anybody has to be here for this, but,
We need to explain it.
huh?
We need to explain it. I looked on the map and the two lots.
There needs to have been an application.
There is an application, it's been paid, it's signed, it's by, I'm not sure if everybody's, I mean, we probably have passed this 1,000 times, it's Kenny Grubbers and his mother's house up on Black Mountain. It's those 2 pieces of property up on Black Mountain, they're joint.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay, because that's not the numbers that were on the, I just looked at the tax map. And the numbers that you have.
29, VO6, 29, and 28, sub A.
It would be the Lang property, which is Debbie Crothers' parents. Both of them have died.
Oh, that's the 2 properties that are being
And
merged.
then,
The 2 Debbie's properties are being merged together.
okay. Oh, you have pictures of that?
Yep. That's their tax map.
But they're not contiguous.
Hmm?
They're not contiguous. On course, to the tax map, these are in 2 separate, there's another lot that, in between the 2 of them.
This is the only thing we were provided. I mean, is there a map outside Mahwah?
Do that.
I really thought somebody would be here.
With a map.
Kind of explaining what they're doing. I know there's no public hearing required, but
Maybe this is,
Well, hearing is not required?
not for,
It's not like a minor subdivision? Oh, no, they're joining it together.
yeah.
They're not making 2 out of 1.
We're looking at what?
Making 1 out of 2.
Right.
V6,
V6.
28 and 29.
And they said,
Yeah, one is 28A and one is 29.
It's 28A, okay.
Yeah. We're all moving around to see the map.
and here's 28A, and here's 20,
Okay, so it's
Nine.
28A.
And there's 28.
well, it's 28A
Yeah.
and 29, you said? So it's the 2.26 acre and 11.03 acre?
Okay, all right, because it's just a 28 and 29.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this is 28 right here. This is 28A, this is 28, so is it just?
No, it's 28A on the application.
These two,
28A.
not these two. You were absolutely correct that there is another property between 28 and 29.
Yes,
28A.
But 28 is 28A.
Yes, on the application.
If you're saying that correctly, yes.
That's different
28A
than the
and,
one that was sent out earlier today. The
Yeah.
one that was sent out earlier today was 28,
Yeah, I just said 28.
and this one says 28A, so it's been changed.
So which one is it supposed to
It
be?
is 28A.
Well, it can't be 28, so.
Well, it can't be.
No, I know that, but it's, no.
No, the application says
Yeah,
28.
yeah, asking, you
So
know.
this,
So it's just these
so
guys,
it's
yeah.
these two. And what's this, this is just nothing? It's 30.
that's on the corner there.
So it's just from here
Yeah,
over
so I
there.
think
What's
it
this in between here?
was changed.
That's
At
28A.
some point.
Oh, that's part of 28A?
this morning it was
I
changed.
think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Because the copy you have is what I
Where
received
on
that
that
from
street?
Julie, original.
No,
Where's the 30?
So all of this is here and this
See,
is
there's-
all
Yeah, it
of
looks
here?
like it was
That's all the rear lot.
just added on.
This is all rear lot, 28A.
Other than that, it's the
11 acres.
same.
Yeah,
And
and
it
then
goes to
this,
the-
Well, no, it's got this, it's got
Right.
this part.
okay.
that's 28A, and it's
It's on
merging
Black
with,
Mountain Road.
merging with 29.
Then 30
Okay.
if it follows a stream, is that the lot line right there?
Yeah.
It must be.
So it'll be all of this.
Yep.
Yep.
So it'll end up being 13.29 acres.
Okay, so that's,
But Bob just did
Picture.
confirm, he had a copy of what I sent out originally,
You want to look at it?
which was what I received, and it only had 28, but the revised one that we just got tonight
okay.
has a little dash A now. So somebody came in here and.
Somebody figured it out, that that wasn't what they wanted, yeah. All right, we good? Everybody's
But
had
this
the opportunity to
picture-
see this?
Is of the house that is on 20, I can't see the name.
Well,
That's the third block up.
that's 28,
Can you use an engineer to
No,
just
the
take
next
a look
one.
at it?
27.
27?
Pardon? Did you use an engineer or did you just
This
make up the
is-
tax map?
Nancy
His
Crowder's
drawings
house.
that he submitted.
Right.
He didn't submit drawings,
Oh,
he
this is-
submitted an application.
Huh.
So the picture is wrong for the map.
With that map.
Anyway, that picture, that house is 28. I'm pretty sure. Is it 1.71 acres?
What's it say at the top that's highlighted?
Okay, he said this is
That's
lot
right.
28, so somebody
28A.
gave us a wrong piece of
No,
data.
28A.
Okay, 28A, sub
This
A.
one.
All right. And
And it's
the-
29.
And 29. All right, so maybe,
Her lot is on, well, her lot's on 29, because her lot, her house is right on Black Mountain. That's her lot.
that's the Lang house, is here.
Yeah. And then Kenny's is next to it. No, oh, this looks like,
All right, the
this is
culvert
Kenny,
comes.
this is Kenny's house.
Okay, so the
Your house is
Langs
here.
must be 30.
That's that little strip, you know, that's where they
Yeah,
built
that's-
the new culvert.
Right, I'm trying just to visualize it.
That little garage thing, whatever that building is.
Right. No, this, okay, so the Lang, oh, that would be Debbie's house that she grew up in. And then this would be,
Kenny's.
right, color, and then this is,
Because the application is signed
There's a
by
other-
Kenny and Debbie.
But it doesn't say 28 A or B, it just says 28.
No, that's because what I received when I did those
Originally it
minutes,
said 28.
28, they modified it today and put an A next to it.
So it's just this one?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's what we have here for data, it's 28A
Okay,
and 29.
all right. So, 28 then. So there's more lots here than there are buildings.
Okay, and for the signatures on that are,
Kenny,
is it a common owner or,
no, Kenny is the owner for one, and then Deborah is the owner for the second one.
okay, and,
Because this is
That's
Kenny's
his
property right here.
land. Irrevocable, that must be a revocable trust.
It is, it's a Crowder family
irrevocable
trust.
trust, yeah.
And
It's the Crowder
so
trust.
Jordan and Eleanor Lang,
All right, so who's the new owner then? We don't know.
It's gonna be the trust,
yeah,
because it's the Crowder family trust is
Okay,
applying the application.
all right.
hmm.
And it looks like Kenny and Deborah are both trustees within the trust. So what it looks like is Kenny's property is expanding.
Questions? Any questions? Questions?
You look puzzled.
I am.
So this is Kenny's house. right?
Obviously, somebody picked up the fact that he didn't letter them properly.
Yes.
It's probably either Kevin or Julie.
This is Kevin's.
They're both being shown as owned as the Crowder Family
And
Trust.
28
Right, they are
A
owned.
is
But I'm sure the intent was.
where
Wants to do it.
Nancy Crowder is living right now.
Okay,
Back here.
No, it's right on, I don't know which side of the stream it would be on, probably the road side of the stream.
I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
all right. So we're good? Any,
I move that we accept the application.
I have a motion to accept the application.
I'll second.
We have a second to accept the application, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? For our public guys, any questions that you might have?
Are any of you here regarding the lot merger?
No,
Nope. Okay.
All right, then we have to vote to approve.
The motion that we approve the
I have a
application.
motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second?
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good thing we have it.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Okay. Short-term rentals.
All right, short-term rental applications. We have 3 now.
Yes.
2 from last time, which we did not address, and a third that came up.
That is correct. And the first one, I think, is the one you're here for, Jim? On the list?
Yes, correct.
39 Beach Hill Road.
Correct.
It's a 3-bedroom tax card. Septic is 3 bedrooms. It's a new short-term rental, so it would be subject to the 30 rental limit. Everything else on the application was appropriate.
Okay. And do we have an advertisement at this point, or no?
It says we need an advertisement link. Have you set up any advertisements yet?
No, we didn't do that because we hadn't been approved.
Yep, No, we appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, we do have the draft.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have the draft, I think is what you sent.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what the proposed advertisement would be.
We appreciate the chicken and egg kind of situation here.
Okay.
Yeah, no, nice write-up.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to see the write-up? It's in good order. Everything is 6, it's got 6 guests and 6 miles. Wildcat, okay. 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion to accept the application?
Move to accept.
I have a motion to accept.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're good.
Great. Thank you, folks.
Welcome.
No, thank
Thanks for
you.
coming.
When it gets done right, it's a lot easier.
Okay, well, I tried. Now, the next step will be the selectmen actually officially approve it. Is that what happens?
Yes, it'll go to their next meeting, it'll get on their agenda. We accept the application, but we don't get to approve it because we're not the appropriate body for that. But it has to come through us to take a look, we look at it and say, yeah, it looks pretty good, and then they do their job.
Okay. And then do we get any official notice, like a written notice that it's approved, or?
I don't really know, I expect that you do.
Okay, well, I haven't done this before, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I would
we,
expect so also.
it'll certainly show up in the minutes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Moving on to the next one. That is David and Deidre Thompson. This is a 5-bedroom tax card, but a 3-bedroom septic.
How's that happen?
Does Jackson want the money or what?
This is Jackson, we live in Jackson, you know.
Taxes trump septic.
Which is very interesting. And their advertisement is 6 bedrooms.
Ooh, wow. All right, so, okay, so we can accept the application, but we'll have to accept the application with a little bit of guidance for our select board.
Yes. Other than that, the application is correct. The paperwork is correct.
So just a heads up,
This will be on your agenda for Tuesday.
So if they're advertising 6 bedrooms, but they don't advertise number of people?
Well, it's interesting because they,
is this an existing one, or are they
Yeah.
already advertising?
They're already advertising. It is interesting because their guest that they list meets the requirement of a 5-bedroom. They say 6 bedrooms, 12 guests. In our ordinance, a 5-bedroom allows for 12 guests. So
But they still have a septic for 3 bedrooms.
I have no idea how that worked. But yes, that's the information that we got, it's 3-bedroom septic. So that will be the note.
So, yes, we just need to note that.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
We have a motion to accept the application with comments.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Again, if anybody out there is wanting to comment, please somehow raise your hand. I've got a hand raised.
Or Bob.
Penny, is that a hand?
I,
Is that a hand?
yeah, curious. So I'm trying to understand the process, and I have taken a break from the planning board meetings, and I hope to get more involved. But wondering if you're accepting the application, as in you're accepting it, you're not approving it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. I'm also wondering if with the short-term rentals, if the planning board or the new housing commission is reaching out to these folks who are applying for these applications for short-term rentals and Airbnbs and whatnot, as to inquire their intentions and motivations. I personally just built a long-term rental unit for the express purpose of that. I'm adamantly opposed about Airbnb, and I want to support workforce housing. So I'm wondering, and this might not be the appropriate forum, but wondering about if we are inquiring of short-term rental applications as to what folks' motivation is. Is it money? Is it convenience in terms of they're using the properties seasonally? Or how can we, and obviously my gist is to get at how can we encourage these folks to reconsider it and do long-term rentals as opposed to Airbnbs, short-term rentals?
Yeah, it's a great question. To answer your question for the planning board, I can do that. I'll defer to Scott for the housing commission, but and they may not be prepared to answer that at this moment because they just got started up. But for the planning board, it's not our role to do that. The zoning ordinance provides a process for us to receive in applications and for the select board to approve them. So we don't do the approval here. Our responsibility is to say that we've looked at the application and it's got to at least pass muster. For example, names of people, it's got the application requires that you have the name of a legal contact. You have to pay a fee. Did we get a check or not? So we're just looking at whether or not the application has the basic requirements. And if there's any shortfall, if it's a basic shortfall, like there's no information about legal contact or they didn't pay the check, we're not going to accept the application. We're going to give it back to the select board's office and say, we need a little bit more before we can accept the application. But if there is stuff like, for example, we had an application tonight where we don't have the information available for an ad that's published because it hasn't been rented yet. So it's like we can't ask for an ad that hasn't been created that's available on the internet because it hasn't been put there yet. But we can say, the select board, it doesn't have an ad, and what do we have? Well, we have copy of what they expect to put in their ad, and that's what we have. And the select board can decide what they want to do relative to the approval. Generally speaking, they're going to approve something where everything looks to be in good order. I think they also understand the chicken and egg process as well, reasonably well. Whereas in this application where we have a disjoint, we have identified the disjoint, we're accepting the application, but we will not give it a clean bill of health. We have a place to put notes. And we'll make the notes that say, we have an ad that suggests that they are either advertising for more people, or too many bedrooms, or something's out of sync. And then it's up to the select board to take a look at the application that we've approved with our notes and say, no, we're not ready to approve this. We need this, or we need that, or this needs to be resolved before we're willing to approve something. And that's up to them. That's their prerogative, and they get to choose what they do. Normally, if they deny an application, it needs to get resolved within 30 days. And so there's a process, again, in the ordinance for that to occur. But to answer your second question, motivation, planning board, we really don't do that. We you know, it's like,
Don't go there.
yeah, obviously they if they're asking for this, the intention is to create a rental process for a short-term rental. Whether they do it that much or do it once or twice a year or 16 times in a year, we have no idea. And it's not our purpose to ask that. Scott, I can't answer the question for the Housing Commission as to whether you might do that, or is that something you've anticipated or thought about?
You're welcome to join the meeting. It's the third Tuesday of the month. Personally, I think that people that are doing short-term rentals generally either want to use the property themselves to some degree, and so a short-term rental is a way of getting income, but not doing long-term rental that would exclude them from the property, or they just want more income. There is a town in Mass, I think it's Provincetown, that's offering up to $20,000 annually to people that will long-term rent instead of short-term rent. So that's the kind of motivation that's required for people to long-term rent instead of short-term rent because of the income disparity between the two. There are also other issues that scare people away from long-term rent. But anyhow, you're welcome to join our meeting, and we're happy to discuss any ways that we can encourage people to long-term rent, because Jackson needs it.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, and I will. I know I missed the first meeting because I was traveling, so that was super helpful information, and I appreciate the feedback, and I hope to get involved.
Sure, great.
Scott, does anyone in the town ever thought of asking the motivation? Because I think it's a critical issue. As you know, I've spoken on this issue before. I think that short-term rentals are controversial, to say the least.
Right. Well, again, we could ask,
I live in
but
the town regularly.
right, we could ask, but to me, I think it's
Yeah.
fairly clear. Either they want more income, or
That's
they
kind
get out
of
of
what's your
short-term
intention.
rental,
Yeah.
Dating my daughter.
or they want use of the property themselves, and so they
Yeah.
do short-term rental in between.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say that I have a new long-term rental coming online, as does my brother-in-law, as we try to help support long-term rentals, and those are both
Yeah.
very conscious decisions.
Great.
That's great. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
any, all right, is that a new joiner, or,
Yeah, Donald Pearson.
Donald, do you have any comment, or are you joining us for,
Lawrence and Abigail Rush. But are you joining us for the short-term rental for Abigail and Lawrence Rush? Donald?
No.
You're on mute, Don.
doesn't appear to be any.
I know.
All right,
Okay. The next one is the new one for this month. This is, as I said, Lawrence and Abigail Rush. It's at 82C Wentworth Hall Avenue in Jackson. This one is 3 bedrooms. The septic is within the condo, so it's a 3-bedroom there. The only issue on this one is, and I'm not sure how we would enforce it, is they advertise a sleeping room in the loft, which,
That's what it is.
well, they're 3 bedrooms. They have actually 3 bedrooms. They have a 4th bed that's in the loft.
That's-
And the note has been that says
I've been in a lot of those units, that's pretty much what they do with them.
they said they will have to remove they will be removing the loft bed from their advertisements.
Okay.
So, but other than that, the advertisement is correct. It shows 3 bedrooms. That's exactly what they have. However, they do advertise for 6 people, which includes that bed. So they will have to make a comment that the ad would have to be modified and they cannot have 6 people sleeping.
If they have 3 bedrooms anyways?
It's 5.
Sorry?
3 bedrooms is the max 5.
3 bedrooms, 8.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
So 8, oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh, that's right, 2 per bedroom.
it is 8.
Okay, so then they don't have any issues except the fact that they have a bed advertised in the loft, which is actually according to Jay, it's not allowed. Anyway. They have a bedroom in the loft.
Probably 2/3 of the condos built in the valley get around, have a loft or a study.
Right. Which is not a bedroom, it's just simply a sleeping pad or something of some kind. You pull out something from the couch or
Well, they
a
advertise.
futon.
They advertise a bed. Theirs is a full-blown bed.
And there's 2 beds in the picture,
There's 3, there's a primary bedroom and there's 2 guest bedrooms,
and 2.
and then there's a loft, a
Yeah.
queen bed in the loft.
Oh, I'm looking at a picture that shows 2 twin beds in the loft.
Ooh. When I say a queen bed in the loft, do they change the, is this the picture?
Second one down on the left, 2 twin beds in the loft.
And then they have a queen bed in the loft.
Loft, they call that a loft bedroom. And a loft bedroom. I assume this was the loft. but-
I think they're both in the loft.
When Kevin and Jay are involved, it runs into their egress that's considered too.
Correct.
So if Jay has got experience with those as the fire code officer, then that would be why he would recommend we don't approve that at that level.
All right.
Because it says beds in loft must be removed, so it could be all 3 of those beds.
So apparently they have 2 loft
Right.
bedrooms. So.
So that would be our comment.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to accept the application with comment?
So moved.
I have a motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
On to our subject that you brought up on our email today.
Yeah, there are 2 things that I would like to talk about the capital improvement program, but before we do that, I would like to just mention the other thing I talked about in my email, which is that I'd be very much interested in knowing what priority of activity we might engage in for 2024, once we complete, assuming we complete the capital improvement program in a timely way. And it's not something we need to talk about tonight, but I would like to get your creative juices flowing. If you think there's something that we ought to be getting at, that either taking a look at the master plan, which now seems ancient, that we haven't gotten that yet, or an activity that you think that we could tackle in the latter part of the year. I think we've got, and then I want to move on to the capital improvement program, which is, I think we still have some more work to do. I think we have to roll in all the ideas of the spreadsheet that we have put together and have maintained, update it for the activity that occurred at the town meeting regarding at least funding for the initial review of a new siting for the fire station, and whether or not that suggests to us that that is going to be something that we need to consider as a bonding issue in the next 5 years, 3 years, whatever our timing is. And also, but also the other things that we haven't really talked about since we pulled that together, and that is expansion of the town offices. We've talked about that. We've talked about a different facility or a better facility for the police station. And we've talked about additional storage space for the town offices, as well as things that we've considered to be reasonable things to look at in the next 5 to 10 years. And since we're really looking at a 10-year span, I think it's incumbent on us to make recommendations regarding the things that are on the spreadsheet. The other thing is that we have not, as part of our capital improvement program, done anything to have public hearing or a listening session of any kind. And my question to you all is, do you think we should be doing that as part of what we do before we wrap things up? Because I think we have the data in from all the areas. We've heard from just about everybody about what they would or would not need. And we've even kind of taken in some things which people have not said they need, but we think they do.
But we didn't get anything final from the school though, right?
We did not get anything final from the school. And I think we still need to leave that out there as something that is an unknown. It's something that's definitely going to happen in the next 5 years. I can't imagine they're going to just simply say, no, we have, because they are going through a process to take a look at the building. I can't imagine them saying, no, we don't need anything.
Well, they had that 2 years ago, and they wanted to get a couple $100,000
You know.
to do a study, and it was shot down because they really couldn't say exactly what that money was gonna be used for.
Yeah, well, it was an open-ended deal.
They had some drawings, though.
There was a fear that they were building space for a preschool, and there's still, I mean, that was what pretty much shot it down. Oh, you're talking about preschool again. Right now, the school board is in the thick of redoing the playground. That's going to be done hopefully in a couple weeks. And then the other thing, they're in the middle of a multi-week or month or year discussion about where we're going to send our 9th through 12th graders. And right now, although it's not going to happen, Bartlett is talking about, or some people in Bartlett are talking about closing some of the space in the K through 8 and cutting it down to K through 6th and sending 7th and 8th to Kennett. That was one of the proposals that was offered at I don't think that's going too far. There's a joint meeting either had or about to have with Jackson and Bartlett to discuss lots of things in that regard. But I don't think the school board is anywhere near discussing or planning any issues to the building right now. I mean, in talking to them, their big issue is operating procedures and what they're going to do with 9 through 12.
Sure, you're reasonably close to some of this stuff. Would you guess at this point that there might be some adjustments to the school building in the next 5 to 10 years?
I know they would like it to be done,
Yeah.
because they still have some of the classrooms, together,
Yeah.
3rd and 4th, and that kind of stuff, and they could use the space. But, the town's always just negatively about the whole thing all the time,
Yeah.
but, would you say so?
Hmm?
Would you say so? The, they would like to expand, you know, the.
Well, I think that, I mean, the stakeholders have all said that it's necessary.
Yeah.
Whether or not,
The town.
they can change.
But have they been
They can
really looking
gain
at ex-
support and even come together as a board as to what they're, right now, they cannot come together
No,
even close of where they're gonna send
Yeah.
9 through 12.
But,
Or 7 and 8 too, it sounds like.
You know, I mean,
but are they looking at expansion or reconfiguration when you get,
they haven't, I mean, they.
or they consider
They
both?
have a plan on paper as to how they could expand the building extensively with the roof lines that exist, they're a little bit
Yeah.
mixed up, or so they say. But I really don't think, I mean, the board is nowhere near close to talking about that.
And won't that be somewhat dependent on the student population at that point?
Well,
I mean, if you have
Yeah, very
classes.
well.
I think one of the things that what should I- the board feels that attracting young people to Jackson, the school is the proper vehicle for that. You know, people don't come to Jackson because our police department is very sharp, or our fire department is very sharp, or even that our town offices are very sharp. Well, those are all things that make a sharp school possible, but what people think about when they want to come to places like Jackson, if they have children, is what's the education opportunities like. And so Jackson has always strived to have the best possible education experience that they can, and they're constantly tweaking it. And some of the proof of the pudding is that they have a very high percentage of Jackson students who are leaders at Kennett.
And Bartlett too. And it'd be a shame to see
Right.
the 7, 8 go to Kennett. That would-
And that most kids from Jackson go to college.
Yeah.
And it's a good experience.
I just meant that if you were thinking about separating the classes that are currently together, if you get to a student population where it's only 3, 4, or 5 per class, you really want them together to have a sufficient number.
And that's always the discussion, the goal has always been to try and keep 6th graders alone. They've not always accomplished that, but that's the goal.
But sometimes the student population might really warrant combining classes because if you have
Based
two.
on how many kids are in kindergarten and first or whatever, the mix.
Right, but, you know, teaching a class of just a couple of kids, and it's just a couple of kids in a room is not good for anybody. And so that's when you, getting families into Jackson,
I mean, there's
Getting
only,
families.
so that we had a need for separate
Exactly.
classrooms, that's really.
Exactly.
So do we leave it out there with a big question mark? Do we end up trying to find out more about that by doing listening sessions, or do we
do you
just?
have anything on your spreadsheets for the school?
Nope.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessary.
We punt and say, okay, 5 years from now, or whenever it comes up, we'll have to look at it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
We've got
we have to
plenty.
address it somehow, but it's like,
It's kind of hard to address it when you don't.
well, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to do is say,
I mean,
what can we
you
do
could-
responsibly?
You could certainly pick a number and say, you know, we expect to spend 1.5 in the school in the next 15 years.
Everybody else agree with you.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that's just a number.
I'm used to doing accounting statements where, you know, you kind of say, I really can't tell you that, but you put in a footnote that says, the reason I can't tell you that is because I don't know, or there's some basis for indicating that there has been activity, but we don't have a defined number, but there's a possibility of a need within, something to that effect. It's
Why could we, because I assume we have to submit a report to the select board.
yeah.
And again, from what I read, this program isn't one and done.
No.
It's a living document. So we could look at it in 2 years from now, when they're done with
Right.
what high school we're sending our kids to, and they're organized it, and they're saying, okay, now we're ready, we could update the program, and then we submit a report to the select board on that. I mean, I think that's where, I wouldn't say that we've fallen short, but we've never looked at it on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
And maybe that's
Yeah,
one of the things
it's
we
gonna
have to
be
do
different.
every couple of
Yeah,
years.
5 years from now, there's gonna be different boards here, different boards there, you know.
And the population in this town could be totally different in 5 years from now.
I think if you took the spreadsheet that they have and maybe tweak it a little bit and just submit that, I don't think you'd be far from wrong.
All right, so I'm with you on that. I asked a couple of questions, so let me ask one of my other questions again. Do you think we need to have a public hearing or a listening session before we finalize this stuff?
Oh, I definitely think we need a listening, but we'd have to have some,
I think a
Something-
public hearing would be in order, but, you know,
what are we gonna give
how many,
them?
how many will come, it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, we have meetings and you see how many folks come to our meetings.
I think a listening session would be more valuable than a public hearing, because then people are more likely to come to a listening session. And for inviting the public, it is not so much what various departments need or want, more so, is there something more forward the town should be involved in? You know, is there, should the town create a new park or a, trail system, a more elaborate trail system out back, or, something that
Yeah.
isn't just maintaining
Or
what we already have.
what's, like at the garage, the grazing garage, what's the 10-year plan for that?
Mhm.
I mean, that would be a great area for recreational area. Along the river.
Because everything we're talking about is really just maintaining what we have. It's improving it as we need to improve it, but it's really just maintaining. We're not talking about any real additional capital value to the town. I guess, in the sense of like a new library or.
No, but
New forestry.
if we're talking.
Well, a new fire station.
Well, if we're talking about, we did talk about fire station, we did talk about increasing
the housing commission,
the town office space, we did talk about,
But again, those are still, it's managing our
Exist-
ongoing needs
right,
for
yes.
those departments.
I don't disagree with that, but there are costs.
Right, no, I'm not saying that shouldn't be,
We
but I'm
talked
saying,
about the sand shed roof and
right.
things like that.
But I'm just saying,
They talked
having the
about
public comment.
expanding some
So,
solar systems.
but the grazing is something that's, that's just, what could we do? Could we make it a park? Could we
Right.
make it recreational to beautify the city?
Yep.
I got an email today from the North Country Council this afternoon about charging stations. Okay? They want us to put a list together. I emailed Emily to see if we can get together to talk to businesses, because it's not a guarantee that you're gonna get it, but there's a lot of federal money out there right now to support towns to put in charging stations.
I mean, the
And
Historical Society got a great grant to restore the curtain.
so we're gonna talk, they want us to talk to businesses, because they will help businesses put in a charging station. The inns, we have how many inns in this town that would love to have a charging station to help promote their businesses. We should have a charging station over here in this parking lot for the library. Put one or two over there. Whitney Center, we wanna put one there.
And, I mean, you have to obviously make sure the grid can handle.
Oh, yeah,
That's one of the
Nicholas
things-
even said,
On a,
asking doesn't mean you're gonna get it.
on a statewide basis, the grid is woefully under
Right.
plan for charging stations and any kind of number, but I think it would be really neat to say Jackson has 2 charging stations.
5.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Right, but like the email for us, it says, asking doesn't guarantee you're gonna get it,
Right.
but at least it gives them an idea of how many people are thinking about, because the goal of this project is to kind of expand charging stations in this state.
New
So they don't know how many they're gonna need.
New
so
York
if the grid-
State has just put out an edict, or I don't know what you call it, that school buses in the state become EV. Now, that's really interesting for northern towns, because they have so many hills, and in wintertime, they don't charge real well. But, yeah, that's, New York has said all the buses are gonna be electric. So,
Well, we have to think that as a town, the next equipment we buy. is-
Boy, we could get some cheap used buses. No.
The somebody in the school, when they're talking about buses, Heather says, shouldn't we get a small bus? And so maybe the small bus could be electric.
All right, so timing of that, what would be the best timing for doing that to June? Not June, summertime is not good.
Timings of what again?
Listen.
Listening session.
Oh,
Or you want to do a listening session as opposed to a public hearing?
Well, I just heard people say they would prefer a listening session, so if
You
you
can do
prefer.
both too.
I mean, we might have to do a public hearing to finish it out, but I want input.
Yeah, there's no charge for, to have a listening session.
Yeah, so, but the question is when, if we planned it tonight, we have 40 cars over there and we have just our cars here. So we need to at least figure out that we don't want to schedule at the same time as like the Super Bowl or, some other activity. But
If you could advertise billiard on Sunday.
well, if you're not gonna do it in June, you're probably looking at September or October realistically.
That's before
There's not-
vacation.
yeah, well, that's what I'm asking. Should we plan
There's
on
not-
doing that in September?
Wouldn't we be done, or,
Well, we should.
then by June, or,
We should be done with our stuff by July, I think.
I hope so.
And have our recommendations and have people say, okay, here it is, this is what we think, what do you think?
yes.
Start throwing the tomatoes at it and figure out what should change.
You think you're gonna be ready by June if you're looking at EV station proposals or?
No,
I think the one thing that concerns me is the discussion around the school. They've been asked, and they've been asked many times, and a non-answer is an answer to a degree, and I would caution anybody to come up with a figure on your own to put in there, no matter what the amount is, and here's why. I think that
big question mark with an asterisk.
and here's why.
Yep.
I think we saw at the annual meeting, all of a sudden, there's a hyper focus on a dollar amount, and even though none of us saw that coming, it was the reason that the warrant article went from 50 to 15. So I would say, I would want that to be addressed as accurately as we can make it by saying, the school district has other priorities right now, is not prepared to pass along a figure or a specific need at this time. And as David says, this is a fluid document. It can be changed anytime. When they come to us and they say, now we're ready, then we're ready to incorporate their needs into the document.
Yep.
I would rather see that than try and come up with something on our own that's not endorsed by the school board. Because the minute
Yeah.
somebody says, is this something they've asked you for? And you say, well, no, you're risking credibility.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. That's why I suggested question mark, asterisk, and exactly what you're saying. We asked, but we don't know, and yeah, maybe, but
I wouldn't even do it that they ask, because that's sort of like putting onus on them. I'd just say, the school board.
we'll
has no
come up with
plans.
really good word.
I wouldn't want to
I'll
insult
ask Sarah. She always comes up with something
I
really
just
good.
listen and I get words from all of you, so.
But wouldn't a listening session be more about not what the various departments need, because that's determined by them?
Yep.
Wouldn't it be more about what else should we be
Right.
looking at? What
Yeah,
should be
yeah,
added,
what other,
like charging stations?
like what did we miss?
Right, or what's new, what's novel, what's, like charging stations?
Like the football stadium to
Sure.
replace the existing,
Baseball stadium we have,
yeah. Or whatever.
A skate park, that'll get the young families in.
All right,
Okay.
So I guess if we're going to do that, then we still have work to do in June, July, and August, just to finish up and all agree what this is all gonna look like before we go, and then we'll plan for the listening in September.
Yep.
That make sense? Everybody agree?
Sounds good.
All right,
Can I-
good.
can I-
What do we want to do
one
for our
addition
homework for
to-
next, be ready?
I also, you talked about the master plan. I think that a build-out analysis would be something to talk about this. A build-out analysis, we haven't done it for over 10 years, and it only halfway done then. And that would be a good precursor to a master plan. And it would also be helpful for your endeavors.
Yeah.
And I believe North Country Council was the one who helped us with it before. I think it was another group.
I'm hoping that the Housing Commission will make a recommendation like that.
Well, that's kind of what it was. I have two
But-
stakeholders.
Do you know anybody?
Frankly, I don't know that it's changed a whole lot since it was done before, because we just.
But it wasn't really done before. I mean, it was kind of cut off at the knees. There was never much of a report for it, but,
It was a report.
There was a report,
yeah, but it wasn't
And-
much of one.
but it didn't seem very practical. All they did was to take, as if you, a map which is flat, and then just
Right. It
see
didn't-
how many squares you could put on it.
yeah, it didn't-
Yeah, I mean, how many
Topography.
squares did they put on Jim Wasco's property?
I have no idea.
It'd be interesting to take a look, Jim.
That's one of the things I was also going to suggest, that it would be a good idea to review the one we have, because it's very technical with respect to septic systems and what, like Sarah said, kind of filling in the blanks. And we should understand, or have some rudimentary understanding of what all that means. And Burr would be very good at explaining that to us, so that when we had a new build-out analysis, that we would have something in mind with the, how it could be used, and how future planning for the town could look, what it would look like. And I think that would be a good basis for the master plan.
It's Sarah, master plan really is, the last one was done, what, 2016, right? I believe so.
You're correct on that.
And so I think we're looking at 2026 for that activity, or at best 2025.
But the master plan includes more than just housing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's the whole
Right, that's
nine
what I'm saying.
yards, yeah.
Vision, goals.
A good build-out analysis looks at what changes would be necessary to achieve X, whatever X is. And it gives you guidance as to how you can get to that X.
Yeah, I mean,
Whether
I
X is
have,
workforce housing, or X is recreational areas.
yeah, I have looked at it, and it just basically does not take into consideration any of our zoning ordinance, our infrastructure, our ability to accommodate septic.
Well, it does that. It does the septic, very deep analysis of that.
Well, yeah, the density is not something that would be possible, if I read it correctly, with our existing rules for septic, and the fact that we don't have a centralized sewer processing plant, and the fact that we have very poor soils in the town of Jackson for septic. And unless the state makes changes to what they allow, or we're allowed to make changes from what the septic requirements from the state, I don't see how we achieve the density that thing is looking at. That's just my first go. I'm not an engineer, but just a reasonable look at it. Yeah.
This is Penny. Can I ask a question?
Sure, you're welcome to do so.
Thanks. In terms of the build-out density, is the fire station taking into consideration that? There's so many limitations on construction, as well as height limitations, as well as potential commercial development. Is the new fire station design taking those considerations into consideration in their design layout?
Well,
The fire station wasn't designed to anticipate growth. The fire station was designed to accommodate our current needs and our needs for 50 years forward, but we don't foresee. Are you asking for like hook and ladder trucks and things like that? I mean, we have mutual aid agreements with Bartlett, and that's where we have access to larger equipment, but we don't anticipate housing anything beyond what we're currently housing.
I guess looking at the current design of the new proposed fire station seems excessive in comparison to our master plan and our build-out potential. So, for example, looking at the plan of the fire station, it has a dispatcher. We're seeing that we're actually going to be hiring a full-time dispatcher, and it doesn't seem, the plan for the fire station doesn't seem in line with the potential for 50-year development in the town of Jackson, in terms of its size and scope.
are you suggesting it's too
That's
large or
so
too
far above
small?
our
The scope is
Too large.
The scope is the same and the size is the same. It's 4 bays, and that's what the new design shows.
It's
There
4
isn't
bays
any,
with many other, with meeting space, men's and women's bathroom, which these days are tending away from, as opposed to, and then a dispatcher room. So I'm looking at the efficiency of the existing space in the proposed design.
well, maybe we can connect offline. This is a planning board meeting. If you'd like to come to a selectmen's meeting and talk about that, we'd be happy to have you. If you want to see something like that put on an agenda, just let us know. I mean, we've gone over it ad infinitum with the citizens of the town, outside of more than one bathroom to accommodate separate genders, which is something that was clearly recommended to us and part of a model fire station. There's a meeting room in the current station. There's going to be a meeting room in this one. There are cooking facilities in the current station. There will be cooking facilities in this one. The big additions is that we're going to have an adequate gear room and an adequate decontamination room. And we're going to have self-contained breathing apparatus, adequate storage. Those aren't things that currently exist in the station that was built in 1947.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Yep.
All righty. Thanks for asking your question. All right, so do we have anything else to discuss this evening?
Move that we adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.